Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to the homestead. So, for those of you who are new, welcome to the channel. I'm really glad that you're here. My name is Heather, and our little urban homestead here is called La Casita Jardin. Now, today, well, technically this morning, I have a goal, and it's going to be wonderful. I'm very excited. We've got a bunch of herbs to harvest, and as you can see, our lavender is just now starting to fully bloom. Now there is quite a bit of herbal stuff back here that has gone to flower. That's not exactly ideal. It has been a bit of a busy week, and I did not get out here when I had planned to. But I went on ahead and decided that I was going to set my alarm super early this morning and get some stuff done around the house and then come out while it was still cool. Get all of these guys harvested. They will keep producing the rest of the year. Even though they've gone to flower, I can still get in there and give them a good whack. And they'll keep growing throughout the rest of this garden season. But let me go on ahead and turn you around and show you what I mean. Okay, so this is actually a cilantro, which in our area is a bit tricksy. If you are in a very warm climate, parsley and cilantro are very, very easy to go to bolt. They do prefer to have a coolness in the temperature. So this time of the year, when the heat kicks up, they end up shooting up their stalks. They put out these flowers and they try to go to seed. Now, you can do one of two things in this instance. You can either just pull it out and wait for fall to come around, put some more seeds in end of August. I would probably do middle of August to the end of August, if I'm honest, and then not worry about it. You could let this try and self-sow, so that means just leaving it there and then letting the seeds from the flowers naturally fall and leaving the flowers for your pollinators. Or you can let this fully go to seed. Let me show you. Okay, so these guys turn into flowers, and when they begin to kind of close up, I don't have too many here that are starting to close up. This head is kind of trying to get dried out, and there's all those little seeds. So technically you could go on ahead and save those little seeds instead of allowing them to self-sow, and then you could have seeds for the next year. Or you could do both, because honestly they're going to put out a lot of seeds. As you can see, there's quite a few flowers there. Same thing goes with most of... Now this is a holy basil here. Oh, it's so delightful to smell. I wish there was smell-o-vision, guys. I seriously do. But all of this does need to be harvested. This I'm going to be saving mostly for some herbal tea, and I'm actually going to make some today. Now you can use the leaves fresh or dried. So today I'm going to use them fresh for iced tea and basically make a sun tea. So what I do with a sun tea is I do anywhere from a cup to 2 cups of the herb. Depends upon you and how much flavor you like. I like a lot of flavor, so I'll probably do closer to 2. Give this guy a complete haircut. Put that in the bottom of my, basically mason jar is what I use. I use a half-gallon mason jar. So 2 cups in a half-gallon mason jar, and then I will pour some distilled water over the top and then set it out on the front porch in the sun. By the time this afternoon rolls around, I'm going to have a very lovely herbal tea, because our front gets basically full sun, so it will have steeped appropriately. To that you can add a simple syrup, or you can add honey. I prefer honey, local raw honey. So that is what I'll be doing with that today. But I could also let this go to seed, because as you can see, we had flower stalks on there. I could completely let it flower out, take some seed, and I may do that towards the end of the season. Let it go to flower and then see if I can get it to self-sow. That's usually what I try to do over here in the herb bed, is allow things to just naturally take they're coarse and self-sow themselves. But I may go on ahead and collect a few seeds just to have some on hand. Never hurts to have a few seeds on hand just in case. The other thing that we've got a ton of oregano. All of this down here, and you can see it's starting to go to flower over there. So this is going to get cut down by over half by the end of this morning. And I will be using that and our thyme. This is a basil. We've got tarragon here. There's a little bit of mint. There's quite a bit of chive. This guy over here with the white flower, that's a marjoram. There's some marjoram that's kind of being eaten by the chamomile on the other side that I'm going to be using and putting into an herb salt. So that is a very easy method if you want to save what you have planted as far as herbs go and what you have harvested, but you don't have time necessarily to set it all out to dry. You don't have time to put the bundles together, to put it in the dehydrator, to go through that whole dehydrating process. The birds aren't happy I'm in their space. So you can go on ahead and do an herb salt, and it'll be different from year to year because your plants are not the same from year to year, and you may have more basil in it this year than last year, or whatever herb it is that you're growing. But no matter what, it's super lovely and it's tasty. My family absolutely loves it and has been requesting it since I made it for them for Christmas 2 years ago, and they've loved every year that I have done it, even if it has been different. So I'm going to make a bunch of that, and it's super easy when you just need a basic seasoning and you don't necessarily have time to go through all of your spices and select out what you want. Yeah, it's really nice to have an herb salt that you can just throw on anything and everything and get the dinner on the table, if you know what I mean. All right, so I'm going to go on ahead. I'm going to put you on hyperlapse here, and I'm going to start harvesting out all of these beautiful, delectable herbs, and I will see you back in a bit, okay? I'm so glad that I just saw that. And this has actually been a subject of discussion, even at the garden center where I work, and just among a lot of the locals here. We are noticing a very large reduction in our pollinator population, to the point that very few of us have been able to even see butterflies. And I can remember when I was a kid, even in the middle of the city where we are, we would have butterflies everywhere. We would have lightning bugs everywhere. And I did end up seeing lightning bugs last night. It's a little late for them to be coming out, but there were only 5. And normally when they first come out, it is just, you can walk out and it's like a light display. It's crazy how beautiful it is. And my mom and I were actually talking last night about the reduction in all of our pollinators, and it's not just the chemicals that we are spraying, which we don't spray chemicals here, but it's not just the chemicals that are being sprayed on all of the crops, because the demand for vegetables and things has increased, so they've expanded the amount of fields, and it's just natural for pollinators to go to where plants are. And then if you are, you know, in the big food industry and you spray chemicals, they end up dying. Animals also end up dying from all of those chemicals that are typically sprayed out there in those fields. It's really sad. It's like 600,000 animals end up dying. Wildlife ends up dying a year around those fields here in America. So it's a really high amount, not counting what happens to all of our pollinators. But between that and then everything that they're spraying overhead, because those pion trails are not pion trails, so those chemicals that they're just releasing overhead, and we've had an increased amount of them. I know over our urban homestead, they've got us slated, I know that. But it's sad. It's really, really sad, because I'm so used to my garden being full and busy with life this time of the year, and having all of these beautiful, wonderful pollinators just bopping around as I'm harvesting herbs. And they've not been out here, and this is the first morning that I have been able to physically encounter these guys. They didn't sting me by any means, but when I've been working out here, normally they bop around. They know me. They don't care that I'm harvesting and doing things. Generally, I have to do something pretty bad for them to get agitated at me. But it's hard as a gardener. It really is, and it saddens my heart. But I'm grateful for the two that are out here with me right now, bebopping around my herbs. And I mean, I could have walked out and there could have been none. So I'm going to be grateful for what I've got right now, and pray that maybe we'll get a few more of our native bees to come around soon, especially now that the lavender's open. Yeah, fingers crossed. Okay guys, look at what I stumbled upon. I know not everybody likes spiders or appreciates spiders, but let me tell you, this excites me. So back when I expanded the herb bed a couple years ago, we ended up with some contaminated soil. And I used to have a huge thyme plant, and since the soil was contaminated, that gorgeous, beautiful, luscious thyme plant completely died. I wasn't able to revive it. I tried pulling it out, saving the rootstock by putting it in good, healthy soil. I couldn't recover it. It was gone. And around that time, we also began to lose a lot of our very beneficial spiders. There are beneficial spiders for your garden, and one of them happens to be an orb weaver. And it's been years since we've had an orb weaver, 3 or 4 at this point, I believe. And I believe that this little baby spider in here, I don't know that it's an orb weaver. It might be, because it's got a zigzag, and that's usually a good indicator when you look at the web of an orb weaver. They've kind of got this little zigzag that goes down their web, and they get big. They're not toxic. They're not gonna, you know, poison you by any means. The bite may hurt, don't get me wrong, so don't agitate your orb weaver, but it's been a very long time since we've had any spiders take up residence in any of our beds. So, yeah, I'm really happy to see all of this morning. And side note, if you are needing to heal some soil where you are, I've got some videos on that. I swear by mushroom mycelium and worm castings. Those are the top two things that just make my garden sing. I can't deny that. Alright, so I'm going to kind of try and show you this. When I'm trimming basil, basil kind of grows in this unique way. See how it's got this here? There's sort of this little natural V that happens. So I go in and I try to thin out in the middle. I go down to, you can see here, maybe zoom in for you guys so you can see I've snipped here above some leaf structure. So the idea is when you do that, it should bush out more. I don't know if that's true or not exactly, but I have found that most of my basil tends to bush out just fine when I cut it there. But really, if you just go in and top it, it'll still produce for you. The main reason that you want it to bush is just to keep it from getting really tall and lanky and unwieldy. Plus you will get quite a bit more basil having it bushy as opposed to lanky and leggy. This is one of the ones that I brought home that we were kind of thinking it was going to die, but it didn't. It decided to go on ahead and take off after I cut on it before for some dinner for us. I also interplant with basil, and I've talked about this on previous videos, just to increase the health and happiness of my tomato plants. I began planting basil and I noticed a reduction in pests, number one, and number two, my basil seemed to grow better. So did the tomatoes, and also just in general, the tomatoes seem to be greener and lusher and happier. So since that time, I've been interplanting a lot of my herbs with my produce. So if you don't have necessarily a dedicated herb space, that's okay. Go on ahead and interplant your herbs with your produce, because you'll be surprised at the massive amount of benefits you will get from having those established herbs with your produce. Bugs don't like them. Well, I should preface that by saying bad bugs don't like them and the good bugs do. So, double bonus. Also, in other news, I found an echinacea buried back here. Actually, two echinacea. Which is amazing because the health benefits of echinacea are exponential, and they're givers when it comes to growth. Give them a little bit of time to get established. You'll have medicine for life. And as well, check this out. The elderberry. It's flowering. And all of these will turn into wonderful, beautiful elderberry. So the morning haul here, guys, most of it is buried in there. But I do need to come over and I need to get that holy basil or tulsi, because I did keep that separate so that it didn't, which I can add that to salt as well, but I wanted to keep it separate because I want to have some tulsi tea this afternoon when it gets warm out, because then I can sit on the front porch with a nice cup of tea, iced tea to be precise, and just enjoy the afternoon. But let me show you, because this will give you a fairly good reference point. So with the tulsi, I literally whacked it down by over half, and I didn't even worry about it. This is a variegated sage. I need to harvest some off of it and get it to stimulate it to grow a little bit more. But all that you really need at the end of the day is enough leaves to generate energy for your plants. So even though I did a hard whack and I didn't exactly do the specific trim like I did on the regular basil that you see here, and I did leave more on the regular basil plants over there than I left on this guy as far as height and bushiness, this is probably going to end up tripling in the next week and a half for me, so I'm not worried about it. When it comes to herbs, herbs are very, very forgiving. So if you are a new gardener, or even if you've gardened but you've never done herb gardening and have felt intimidated by it, please don't feel intimidated. It's very difficult to kill out your herbs. So don't be afraid to try them. I know some people even have difficulty starting them from seed, and that's okay. Go on ahead and head to the store and just select a few herbs that you do like and that you know your family likes, and watch them explode in your garden. It's pretty darn epic and pretty darn amazing, and honestly, it's so healthy, and it's cathartic for the heart as well to be out harvesting herbs early in the morning like I have been. But now that I've got all of this harvested, I do need to head inside and make herb salt and make our iced tea. So I will see you guys on the next one. As always, keep it simple, natural, and essential. Thanks for being here. We'll see you later.